What's up, guys? So we are back today with another point of view video, this time talking about LJ, as more and more people are now requesting him to be on a top team with some of the 6 best players in the region. A lot of people have been calling for his name to be on Gen G specifically, and plays like that are the reason why, right? Boom, there's the TikTok, perfect at it. But this man is arguably the best player in North America, in my opinion, at taking players on and beating them with the ball, specifically in 1v1 scenarios like this, where he's able to get the first touch and just works his magic. He historically has been the player to carry this SSG team ever since Daniel left, and people don't want to throw around the word carry, like especially as a coach. You never want to be like, oh, well, this player's carrying. LJ is a carry figure, and they build their system around the LJ carry, which is a huge props to Sad Jr. because there's not a lot of coaches or systems that are very willing to say, right, I'm going to set my one player up that he's going to be the reason why we succeed or we fail. And it's pretty normal in traditional sports. It's pretty normal in other esports. And it's fine to be like that. And SSG have their system. It revolves around LJ. And it works. And a lot of people quite often would talk about, does he work with another top player? Like, historically, it's always been, does he work with Daniel, right? Because that team absolutely capitulated. The answer, in my opinion, is yes. He does work with a top player. It needs to be the right top player. The issue with Daniel and LJ, you will notice a lot through these replays, LJ is often deepest back. It was very similar with TRK on Falcons before Roas and Clears came in, where he liked to be incredibly deep. He didn't really want to force the ball for people. He's much more comfortable having a 100 boost, so when plays like this open up, LJ makes the save, relies on his teammates to do that. Then once he gets the ball, he can get it with boost, and even with 40 boost, this is absolutely ridiculous. One of the most underrated mechanics in the game. The delayed musties, especially off the wall, because people don't really defend them very often, because people can't really hit them consistently. His execution is near perfection, but LJ needs players like Chicago and Hawks. Hawks are very willing to dive at everything. Chicago incredibly physical, willing to clear the space and allow LJ the space to at least get his first touch off, and once LJ has control, he has the ability to do anything in his power because his mechanical ceiling is absolutely unreal. People often talk about adding not having the talent. Someone like LJ should be making top 4s that lands, top 2s that lands. Like, he won the offensive MVP in Dusseldorf. Personally, I don't think he deserved it. My vote was TRK. Obviously, I have quite a bit of bias there because I was coaching TRK. But LJ historically has also never been past the top 8 of the LAN. He's gone out in every single crowd series. Even dating back to Rotterdam, which he went out to face in round 5. So it's very hard for me to gamble and say LJ's immediately going to win a LAN if he gets on a like an elite roster like Gen G. But I think LJ is going to have a bunch of success if he teams with players who play to his ability and have slightly more mechanical talent. And that's not a diss on Hawks or Chicago. They've done incredibly well. They play their system very well. They're very disciplined. They work incredibly hard. But a gifted talent like LJ needs to be ready to win. And that's where I think the next steps are. I wouldn't rate a lot of his career moves, being completely honest. But his actual in-game ability is it's very hard to argue he's not top 4 in North America, in my opinion. I'd probably say you got Beast Mode, you got Daniel. And then, honestly, I'd probably, look, if I'm building a team, I'm probably taking LJ over First Killer. I think he's a lot more adoptable. I would definitely take him over Chronic. I would take him over Jack. I think LJ's talent is absolutely unreal in every aspect. Even his shooting, like, people used to critique him a lot. Put an insane amount of work in to get better at it. And a lot of criticisms I have with him would probably come through his system, right? It's not a system that's very pass heavy. It's not a system that it's going to be relying on him to be padding. It's very, very LJ focused, so it'll always make him look like a better player to an extent than he is. But also is one of those players that, yeah, I think he is that good, even if his production would get lower on a better team. So we'll look a little bit more into this replay of, okay, what does he contribute minus the fact of beating one, which is arguably a coach's dream. But his control, man. This control is unbelievable. He's very comfortable in the goal line. He's one of the best deuce players in North America and in the world. So his ability on the goal line is unreal. His ability as a third man is truly, truly probably only comparable to Daniel, and that's why they didn't work together. They occupy the same areas of the pitch, right? And people don't like to talk about this, but I will do a quick visual example just to show. So, snap, crackle, pop, Sad Jr. in the corner. Obviously, maybe he's not verifying this. I don't know. But we'll draw it out, and I'll hopefully explain to you a little bit of why this doesn't work with him and Daniel and why they had issues. Quite often, you had Daniel in these areas not really willing to challenge. You had someone like Arsenal very, very high up the field. LJ is not a player who can force the ball. He's not a great challenger of the ball, and the extent of being willing to just throw himself at the ball on low boost, to just dive, to force this ball back to Dan. Did not work at all, right? It's not his play style. He's very, very much comfortable being in Daniel's role, which is what you'll often see where you'll have players like Chicago and Hawks are very, very interchangeable in these areas where they're happy to dive, they're happy to play low boost, they're happy to be very unselfish. Also, it was an earlier point in LJ's career, so he's gotten better at these things. I still don't think he's elite at it. But to an extent, maybe he gets better. I don't know how much better he gets, but I think he is better at it. So it does come into this point of, if you wanted to play an optimal way, you had to play two very, very defensive players who were very happy to sit very deep, very happy to not challenge the ball, and you had players like Arsenal, very, very quick, very rapid, very willing to throw himself at everything. But it was very easy to play around him, which led to a lot of 3v2 counters, and LJ getting put in very awkward situations where he would dive for the ball, and realistically Daniel got left in a lot of 2v1s. Their pressure wasn't the best. I would assume their team environment wasn't the best as well from things I've heard. But it's an older team. You can kind of understand why it didn't work on paper. To me, the move never made sense. I know they were trying out Aqua at the time, and they made a lot more sense than LJ just because of Aqua's actual positioning on the field. But even something like this, like, to an extent, you watch how LJ forces this play. LJ is forcing this play as if he is covering the shot. That makes no sense to me. Because you can see, Chicago's behind him. Chicago's going to be on the back wall with full boost, probably 80, because he's boosting away from Turk. Also, it's on land, so it's difficult. Him forcing it to the top of the box is awkward because he's the one covering top of the box. The way he positions his cart, if he forces it to back wall, Chicago should be able to deal with it realistically because Turk's going to pull off because he has 0 boost. If I had to guess, I would be very surprised if TRK fouls him off the wall. And you know what? Fair play. TRK pulls off. The ball does go back well, which is why LJ would have had to just cover like the lower middle force, which is why this ball was so easy to play through and why Ross is able to get a very easy bump on Chicago. So that's probably my one critique of LJ's game. I got very lucky. It pops up right when I'm talking about it. But that's probably the main weakness in LJ's game because his ability to control the ball, his ability to take 50s, his ability to truly, truly beat his man, which people don't talk about as much as like, oh, it's an underrated trait, but quite often you'll see players default into these low 50s and slowing the game down and not really trying to be like, oh, I'm going to win the game for my team. It takes a certain set of cojones, really, to be a player like that. And LJ definitely has those qualities. And like when we did the Itachi video, I said Itachi is the type of player you want to model yourself around in ranked. If you have unbelievable mechanics and you feel like you're at a lower rank than you deserve, LJ definitely is a carry playstyle. And there's things to take from it. There are things to take from it. Of how he reads the game specifically on the ball is very much second to none. And that should be credited because he is fantastic at it. So we do see them hold on here. I think he actually makes a save on 0 seconds. I'm talking out my yeehaw is what I'm saying. Actually, he does make a save on 0 seconds, so I'm brilliant. Gotcha. So we'll get into the next game. Hopefully we'll look over a little bit more of the traits as opposed to going through the history. And let's get into it. So let's get back into it. Another LJ replay review. Hopefully I'll be able to understand his decision making a little bit more. I'll talk you through it. Really good first touch, baits out the Jorfinho touch, and I assume the con here is he's up, he's up, he's up. So at this point, he's not thinking about taking a 50. It's just beat it past Jorfinho, give Chicago enough time to rotate out, and he's just going to kind of land and stick on this ball as much as possible. I think Chicago actually gets a demo here, which is even better. solo play doesn't quite come off, but still another point to really prop up the fact that LJ gets his beats. LJ individually is going to go man for man with anyone in the world, and that is a huge, huge plus, because there's not a lot of players that have this like innate ability. And his first touches are ridiculous. This is the second or third time we've seen him catch the ball and just instantly go, yeah, alright, I'll take a 50. Even his bump slightly accidental. That one not as much, but he gets pushed into it. And LJ, everything is kind of set up for LJ to be LJ, and it's a very, very good system. Gets his boost, turns in, recognizes the play. But it's all because of Hoxer creating the space, and Chicago and Hoxer do this phenomenally well. And I think there will be an adjustment period if he were to make a roster move, or if things were to not go through, because we can kind of say how it is. If you're top 8, if you're making top 8s and you have this level of individual talent, you're going to eventually want to win. We even saw it with like the OG Falcons roster, bringing in Nupa at some point, and then bringing in Ross and Clears. You can be very good friends, you can have very consistent results, but at some point you want to win. And I think that would be the next step. But Chicago and Hoxer give a very, very good plate of, wow, like this is how this kid is going to perform, and this is why he's performing so much better than when he had someone like Daniel, where Daniel's a better player than these two, but he doesn't fit to LJ's strengths. It's also why Daniel's performing better. He's players that fit to Daniel's strengths more than LJ did. So it's not that either of them are bad players. They're both top 4 in North America. It's the fact that it just didn't fit well together. But you see, they're willing to leave boost. They're willing to let him have his boost. On the goal line, he's phenomenal. Great reaction time save. Able to get the read very, very quick. Force his way out. It's very, very, not fundamental Rocket League, but very, very individually based Rocket League that he plays. But he's got the ability that, okay, even a situation like this, sorry, a lot of non-top tier players, like I'm saying non-S level players, panic on this ball and throw it away. No, not LJ. Gets the perfect first touch that he's able to recover and get another 50-50, which buys the time for Chicago to get that. And that's why they're able to get out of defense. And also, let's talk about the stakes of this game. This is 2-1 in Swiss Game 4. They're up 2-1 in the series as well. This is the game to get them over the line into their top 8 on their first land back. Composure, right? Absolute composure. There's relax. He's willing to get the 50s. He slows the game down for his team. He plays it so, so well. Holy Yan. Great save from Chicago. His padding's quite good. A lot of people don't have that padding. It's just memorized. It pretty much has to be muscle memory, because you're never going to be going in game and being like, let me pad, let me pad, let me pad. It's just not realistic. It's not how people work. But I still think there's elements, even things like this in the corner, of how he forces the ball. I think he lacks of being willing to just go, yeah, hit the ball for me. I'll go bump Ian off this ball. Just kind of stops. But that's also the land pressure. It's life. It is what it is. But overall, like LJ's ability on the ball to buy time, get the 50s, keep the ball out of the net at an extremely talented level, is what makes LJ LJ. And I'm very, very curious where this develops. I think, unfortunately, top 8 is their ceiling. I think there's maybe 2 or 3 teams that made top 8 last time that they could sneak by, which would be Gen G and BDS. Because BDS, I don't think they're comfortable on land yet. Gen G, I think, have been in a terrible downswing. Which is why my next video will be on Gen G and their downswing. But it's something to talk about. But even something like this is where I'm saying his off-ball probably lacks the most. Should just be kind of going for a bump here. It's not awful, he plays the pass, but it's a very, very awkward situation. Oh my gosh, Hoxer, get out of the way of my goat. And that's actually leads to a goal. Unbelievable execution from Vudia. But this is where it's like, okay, if Hoxer's willing to force you, this isn't a goal. It's very rare you see a goal conceded completely on LJ. I think that floor of his is probably top 6 in NA, top 8 in NA at a worst. And his ceiling's top 2, like at a minimum, which I'm saying probably Beast Mode and Daniel have higher ceilings, but you'll rarely see them both hit the same ceiling at the same time because they're on the same team. How many times can I say same? And LJ is just phenomenal. Like, even this composure, willing to die for this, but he just floats perfectly, that he buys enough time, that he doesn't get demoed easily, And oh my god, did Lost's name just change midway through the replay? It did. Welcome to the notorious B.I.G., also known as LOST. But yeah, it's really good. You see a lot of near post rotations, but it also comes from the fact of if you watch TRK on Falcons, he reminds me a ton of LJ. And when I say TRK on Falcons, I mean TRK when he was with Ahmad and Khaled, more so than anything, where he's not willing to completely play for the trust. It's a little bit more individually focused, but it works. And when you have individual shooting like this, where you want to say, put me on the shot, I will get us over the game, better hit it. And he does hit him. He hits him consistently. His shooting is phenomenal, especially for a younger generation pro. And it's very, very rare you'll say this to a younger generation pro that his shooting mechanics are good, because when you were an older pro, the mechanics you focused on were shooting mechanics, passing mechanics, 50-50s. Whereas now, the kids coming up, especially in ones, it's foot resets, it's air dribbles, it's musties, it's pogos. It's these very, very difficult mechanical plays and executions, but their actual base fundamental mechanics lack. And LJ doesn't really lack those, which makes him such a special player, as he still has the new generation mechanics. And hopefully, that's part of why you can see why LJ is in so demand, and why everyone wants to see him on a top team. And if you want coaching to hopefully become more like LJ, Metafy.gg, I am doing private coaching, as I did get unfortunately removed from M80, as all of us did. Link will be down below. If you guys can like and subscribe, it does help me a lot. And I'm slightly sorry about the delays in videos. I was focusing on my project for 2025 and my new team, which hopefully a lot will be more unveiled soon. So thank you so much, guys. Have a great day.